But I just heard you talk about the lawsuit. Uh, Many Africans want to know what impact it will have on their understanding of the new presentation and their progress within the new presentation. So they want to know. Like Joseph no the Mukuna, yeah. He asked me. They said I should brief him on. I should brief him on this lawsuit, how it's going, and what impact it will have on the new presentation.
Okay, which Joseph is that? Is that Joseph in the Bible, or who is that?
It's a new friend in Congo.
Oh, okay, it's another Joseph. Okay, we need to number them. Joseph A, B, C, D. You know what I mean? There's so many Josephs. Yes, this has got...
the old Joseph has nothing more to do with us. You can forget him.
Okay, that's the old Joseph. Yes, I was just kidding. So again, this is prolificated out of control since the reptilians wrote the Joseph Bible thing, and so again, yes, just a little humor there. Go ahead.
Even the other Joseph may come back. Don't rule him out. He's working very closely with me on other things. And I see, I don't talk about the new presentation with him. I'm only helping him to see how he could make some money, which is what he needs to alleviate his life circumstances. So I think we have a good relationship, and I see he's very, very, very humble and very what will I say, amenable or something like that. He's full of a lot of gratitude. So maybe he didn't know that new friends could be so helpful to him. So I see him. I had even suspected that his learning curve was so large, and maybe he did not just understand his ABC. And we may find him coming back. So people come in and out like that. So we can't rule anybody out as yet. Yeah, Duane, over to you.
You asked the question, young man, about the impact on the new presentation or what have you. About
Yes.
the lawsuit, yeah. Actually, there really is none. It has nothing to do with us. Again, everybody makes their choices. It's really very simple. What the corporation is going through, that's their choice. And again, it's a choice in the world, so it's not about prophecy or what the outcome will be. It's not business statistics. You see, when ideas like that are created, they're more along the lines of the business world. It's like, what impact is, Walmart going to have on our business or whatever, etc. And so, yeah, Amazon and Walmart can discuss those two things because the business world. And we have our foot here, but we're not the business. So it's not about that at all. It's like the sun shining. What impact does the ECMAR lawsuit have on the sun shining? There's no such thing. You see, the reality of what life really is all itself, and it's to be recognized. And for those that do, they do, and for those that don't, they don't. They mainly stay with these ideas. And this, again, continues the confusion with most people. They really don't get it because they don't take the time to see the isness. And so with the isness, everything comes together. So it doesn't mean you're going to be rich and famous. That's not the idea. And realistically, anybody can do that. And a lot of the Africans, as a matter of fact, they can do stand-up comedy. Okay, so they can smuggle themselves on a cargo ship and come to the United States and do what Eddie Murphy did. Whatever. The possibilities are always there. It's just if you will go for the adventure. And myself, I said before that, I had my own business, and I could go out of the business world, do any of these things, create corporations, write contracts, bid on jobs, get them, do the jobs, etc. And just keep huffing and puffing and all that stuff. But there's no value in it. It's just one-dimensional. So, no. It's interesting, the ideas that people bring up, and this provides an opportunity to educate them, if they're interested. And that is that, no, we don't see things the same way. Anytime someone brings something up, I always look at it different. Yeah, I have that relationship where, yes, I will agree to what they're saying, and it does have its place. But, this is a real position that, you have to recognize and see, and that's the toughie. And so, again, most people relate everything to the business world. And no, I'm glad you brought up the question, because these questions, it creates a reference for everybody, and that is that no, we're indifferent to all that. We do things in the business world, but our relationship here is focused on the all is. See, people here, what do they pivot off of? Their personal lives, their personal ideas, etc. That's what they pivot off of, and it's really nothing. We pivot off of the is. Our relationship is with the all is, and then we figure it out according to what it is, and not according to what the created business world is. Because again, when you look at the world and you chase whatever out here, it's all controlled. Right now, it's all, this moment, it's all controlled. Everything is controlled by the cabal. I don't care how good it looks or what people think, or they're making money or doing whatever, or positions. It's all controlled by the cabal. And it's part of that agreement with the cabal. So what we continue to create with the new presentation is our own position within this world. That becomes the difference. Yeah, there is a difference there. So we utilize these things here as a reference, but not as our reality. That becomes the difference. And most people relate to the business world, making money, chasing money, having their career, etc. Again, it's the individual looking at themselves, and some people know about the new presentation, but the individual really has to look at, and again, the examples are given in the real side experiences that are shared here, and that is that it's a lot of process for each person to go through to recognize what they're really pivoting off of. In other words, again, for so many people, the new presentation or the new you, whatever, is an idea in their mind and not a reality that they pivot off of. So what they're doing is they're they're pivoting from the idea of it and not the reality of it. There is a difference to recognize. So that's one way to say it, Charles.
Oh. I don't think they were even was asking from the business point of view. I just thought that maybe he wanted to know whether it could have, how would I say it, whether it would have any negative effect on the new presentation.
I understand what you're saying. You have to understand what, okay, look at the lawsuit itself. What is the lawsuit, realistically? It's a one-dimensional idea. That's as far as it goes. It doesn't go any further than that. It's not divine, it's not this or that. You can call it divine, it's still one-dimensional. It's just a one-dimensional created idea. And whatever so-called impact it has on the new presentation is really an illusion, simply because the new presentation, like anything here, is made up of agreements. And so it's only going to have an impact, you might say, let's just use that idea, on the individuals that do or don't agree. That's the only impact it has. And so realistically, it doesn't have an impact because it still is, you see? It still is. So, it's just an idea. It's an idea that people have. And so, yes, I understand what you're saying, basically, but, and people want to know, they want to sort out these ideas. But as they learn to focus on the isness, they will start to see the difference. That becomes it, instead of creating ideas in their mind and wondering about those ideas. Just like the idea that's presented here. It's like, well, what would be the impact? See, that's a created idea. And anybody that can see what's taking place, well, they won't create the idea. I don't create ideas like that. I don't ask the question, you see. That becomes the difference. So it's learning to see what's really taking place, as opposed to, just like people in religion. What do they do all the time? Even people in religion, even people that are devout Catholics, Christians, whatever, they still ask the question, what is God? What is the meaning of life? They still continually ask it. They still continue to create ideas, thinking that because they can create that idea, that it equals something, when realistically it doesn't, because until they see it for what it is, until they see their religion, until they see their God for what it is, they don't. So what they do is they create ideas, because people have been rehearsed with the idea of creation. Creation has its purpose, but creation itself has, the idea of creation has been distorted. People have got distorted ideas about creation, and that's what they look at. They look at the distorted ideas. They don't look at the actuality of creation. That is a difference. And so when these questions are asked, again, they really don't relate to what we're doing. They're interesting questions, but they really do not relate to what we're doing, because we're an isness. It's a recognized isness, and it is its own position to perceive. You can say it has its own language, the reality that it is. And then as it comes through into creation, we create ideas that relate to it, and we don't need to question it. See, that becomes the difference. And I'm not saying not to create questions, of course, but to question the reality that life is, it's really kind of humorous, simply because it's like the sun shining. Why would you stand there and question the sun? and say something like, well, why are you shining? Does that make sense? See, now you're looking at the idea you created, not the reality the sun is. That's the subtle difference between creating an idea and the actuality of what everything is.
I want to. I've realized that the new presentation needs to be calibrated in accordance with the level of life people are operating on. You find that some people may be operating on the emotional level, some are operating on the mental level, and all the like. So I want to ask how can we approach somebody who is operating on the emotional life level with the new presentation, and somebody on the mental level too, because I think everyone operating on these levels will find something interesting about the new presentation, something novel. Yeah, because what I reckon is we can't just bundle the high stuff there and just roll it out like that. We must come down to maybe the level people are operating on, but how can we do it? So this is one question I really want to know, so I can be able to I can be more effective in my approach. So I don't know whether you have any suggestion on how to approach people who are operating on various life levels with the new presentation. How do we go about it?
Well, actually, Charles, we have so much stuff out there. We have all these websites. I've created all these groups and, the books and everything. It goes over basically everything way more than Paul did. Okay, and again, we don't negate anything. We're just simply saying it like it is. But I would say here's an example to look at, and you decide. This is where, instead of asking the question, you personally figure out a way to do this and not look to the so-called new presentation, which is an idea, okay, which is made up of individuals that agree to that idea here as a reference. You see, that's the reality of it. So it's like people looking to the government. There's no such thing as government. Government is an idea, all right? But people keep looking to it, wanting their life to be resolved. It's an illusion. It never is resolved because it's made up of individuals that don't care about people's situations. They only care about themselves. That's why they created government. And they use that idea, you see? So again, seeing things for what they are. Okay, so here's the idea. If you're a farmer, okay, and you want to grow crops, all right, so let's say you've got a forest on your land. Let's say you got 100 acres, and 50 of the acres is forest, dense forest where the sun can't even get through. So if you want to grow crops to eat that need sunlight, are you gonna go plant them in the forest? Maybe you will, to see that maybe you're thinking that, oh, gee, if I plant them in the forest, nobody will see them and they're protected. As you plant these crops, you eventually figure out that, hey, they're going to grow better in the sun. Some things do grow in the shade, but then some things grow in the sun. So instead of asking the question, what you do is you go about to figure it out. You see, so it's not that you're going to change the sun, are you? You're not going to change the sun because the sun is what it is. So it's up to you, because you're in life, to figure out how all this works in your relationship to what you're doing. And so realistically, this is how it works. And actually, we've created almost everything out there, and we're continuing to do this. That's why I created the new school, the university, the vessel projects, all these things. These are relationships that relate to nature, the natural environment that's being destroyed on the earth, because that's number one that supports everything. Again, I always refer to the all-natural environment that supports all of us. That's where I started off with. That's about as basic as you can get here, because realistically, most people think that processed food sustains them, and they can think whatever they want. So it's already here, Charles. But the reality of life is, see, again, we're in the thinking mode here, and this bothers a lot of people. And that is that they think that just because they can think, that they can figure out life and they can maneuver it a particular way according to how they want it for themselves. And this is not how it is. And so there is an endlessness with this reality to be recognized. And that's a true, real position with this, just like the sun shining. And if people don't want to make the effort for that, again, it's not higher or lower. There is no higher or lower. It's an isness. It is now to be recognized. There's no higher or lower. There's no going anywhere. Again, these are the old references like soul travel and moving through the different levels. The various levels that are described, and if a person is emotional or mental or whatever, those are chosen positions of that individual, and life is not going to, you might say, correct itself according to what the personal needs of the individual are. That individual, just like getting a job, and sitting on the couch eating potato chips and watching TV, has to get up and do something with their life, because it's not that the job is going to come to them. They have to make the effort. So this is a bigger effort to recognize, and that is that, yes, what you're seeing out in the world is most people don't want to make the effort, because you know what? They've been so rehearsed and so mesmerized with the phenomena in this world that they want a comfort zone. They want it all comfy for them. That's why they're glad to work their 9-to-5 boring job to nowhere, grow old and forget where they are, and pay their membership dues, thinking that Harry or the Pope or somebody is going to take care of them, or they call him God, and it's not so. But yes, we have the best reference here for everyone on the planet, and that is the all-natural environment that supports all of us. And that is more than specified in so many different ways. And what we're doing is we're simply warning people. So we have everything already. And so again, I don't see where there has to be any questions asked, but simply step up, figure things out, and demonstrate it. That's what we're doing. That's the whole idea. Instead of just asking questions, again, respectfully, like Miriam's group or whatever, or any groups. I mean, what are people doing? What are they realistically doing? Is it just a thinking thing, where you just sit there and suck it in and you just think about it? Well, that's a choice, isn't it? That's a choice. In other words, we're not we're not a society of thinkers. It's about doing. It's about figuring it out and doing it and doing something. In other words, activating something. Not just discussing the ideas all the time, but that should motivate people to do something. So, I get your questions and whatever, and basically we're in the same spot here. It becomes years later, and everybody's in the same spot. You know why? Because they keep pivoting off of the old ideas. They don't take the time to recognize the isness. And once you do, again, look at Reba Zartars and the boys. They're an example. Do they do what most people do here? Are they sitting around thinking about it? Are they wondering what the reference to the lawsuit and the new presentation is? No, they see what's really taking place. They're not concerned. I've only created this idea as an adventure for people to learn from, again, as another reference. That's really all it is. I don't care what happens. If Joni wins and she takes over the world and mesmerizes everybody and gives them all vaccines, it's nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with the new presentation because it's an isness. Yes. It exists everywhere, you might say. It's not the new presentation, but we'll use that idea, but it's part of the isness, and it exists everywhere. But like the sun shining, you have to see it. And if you don't, you don't. And that's just it. Just by the very fact that, people don't know about Rivas Artars, doesn't mean he doesn't exist. Because he does. And the real guides exist, even though many people say, oh, well, Paul made them up. They're just imaginary characters. Well, realistically, does that affect Rebazar and the boys? Does that affect you or anything? No. You see? So what do we build upon here? What ideas do we present, and what do we realistically do? The planet is dying every day. Most people are chasing money, how to get money, how to do stuff, but not really paying attention to the natural environment. Hey, yes, I need to be supported here too. That's a given. But my real focus is to make these projects work, so this I see will help wake people up. Make the projects work. Do something. You see? Take part in the natural environment in some way, and from there, a step at a time, people will wake up to what we're doing. They will see it. They will get past their phenomena, or they won't. It's their choice. But it cannot affect us at all. It's like swinging at the air. It still is there. But you see, it's so cool, the recognition of what is real cannot be affected by anything, and that's what we are. We do the funny things in this world, but that true and real recognition, and for those that have come through, as an example, the corporation, and can see it, they can see that they don't care. They don't care if it's all annihilated. They don't care, because it's not. It's everywhere, and as soon as others recognize it, well, then we recognize each other. There's the recognition. There's the true reality life is. That's the all-aliveness, more so than the spirit idea, which is just an astral idea about the astral light, so-called spirit. Yeah, and that refers to liquor and ghosts and everything else too. And so again, it's all nonsense. And the little smoky thing that the Pope carries around and walks up and down the aisle with, toxing everybody. So again, whatever it is, yeah, that's the spirit idea of things. So again, we pivot off of the isness, and it's a real position of creatively presenting something, and this is where creation comes in, that really makes sense, because that's our pivot point, not ideas. Yeah, that becomes the difference. So yeah, this is a toughie for literal people, intellectual people, the smart people of the world. They don't get it. And so the thing is that, again, like the farmer, they're going to have to figure out to plant their crop in the sun and not the dark forest, thinking that it's going to work, like the GMO little ploysters out there that think that they're making everybody think in marketing that GMO food is better. Again, we know what's going on, and so yes, our basis is the all-natural environment, which encompasses everything. But we'll let the public think that it's just the planet Earth and nature. Fine, let them think that. That's all fine. But that's something to discuss wholeheartedly, because it's affecting all of us every moment, every day. And to start off there, I would say that's the best place to start. And still we get resistance from that. Well, that's a choice people make. So again, you have to give it time. We get a response. Ava does lots of times, and it's people do the new you a few times and go and want to meet Rivazar or have some experience or whatever. It's like, well, why isn't it happening? Again, it's like planting a seed in the ground. You have to give it time, let the flower grow. Give it time. It's an endlessness. And again, take the time to recognize this isness. Instead of asking what it is, Learn to see what it already is. It already is. This is what's so cool about it. And all you have to do is recognize it. You don't have to figure it out because it's already figured out. It's already complete. You see, this is what's so cool about it. Yes, as opposed to all the ideas that we've chased, like in the corporation, when you wanted your fake initiations and all this stuff like that. It was really all a recognition. The initiations were just a comfort zone confirmation for the personal self. That's all. They didn't really mean anything. That's all it was. And that's okay. But we don't need that anymore. We don't need diapers anymore. You know, some people do. So they pivot off those ideas. The ideas work for a while, then you shuck them. You know, you don't need them anymore. So, yeah, just like a farmer figuring it out that, hey, you know, the crops grow best in the sunshine and not in the forest.